Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Creative Minds. I'm Flavio, and another episode of Great Insights, talking about this time how COVID-19 has been impacting companies to potentially rebuild their business or change a business model going on. As always, with me for this episode is Stuart, but before I pass it on to him, I have a lag delay. Technology is being playing tricks on us today, so hopefully you see me and hear me at the same time as everybody else. Hey, Stuart, how is it going?
I'm very well, thanks, Flavio. It's good to be here with Erik. Erik's and the organisation he works for is a company I've known for a very long time, since my childhood, in fact. And it works for Elektor, a media organisation, well known for an electronics magazine, which in the past was focused very much on the hobby community, but a very high level of professionalism, and has since expanded also into the sort of arena of B2B and other business areas, as we'll discuss today. And they're also celebrating the 60th anniversary this year. So there's a lot of good stuff going on over there. So today is going to be a good show. Back to you, Flavio.
Yes, and thank you, Stuart. And yes, we welcome Erik Jansen, Managing Director of Elektor International Media. This is quite an adventure that you guys have been going through. I mean, going from, I would say, a community-directed company, and now with COVID-19, validating what the business model is to be, and doing all the changes with people working from home. I mean, how much more can you put on your plate to make it successful, Erik?
Oh well, we've been doing okay. It's actually, I think, the transition that helped us through the pandemic was actually started already a couple of years earlier, when we really made our company ready to be a little bit more agile, more online marketing, online content marketing driven. I think it was in 2010 that we started, that we concluded that to remain relevant, we had to reinvent ourselves a little bit, while upholding our brand identity and our brand values. But Elektor at that point was a little bit still too much, as we thought, paper oriented and traditional membership models. So we decided back then that we had to reinvent that a little bit to be more flexible for whatever changes were to come. And of course, we didn't predict anything like the last 2 years. But it made us flexible enough to be able to overcome this.
So since its inception, Elektor started its life in the Netherlands as a print magazine and established itself then all across Europe. It's mostly known today for the print magazines in English, French, Dutch, and German. So how do you take an organization like yours, which has been so focused on print? What do you do? What did you do when the internet came about and obviously made it easier for people to just become self-publishing sources of information? And how do you make use of the internet and this ability to competing with free information everywhere online?
I think Elektor, of course, it's 60 years today, but I haven't been around for all 60 of them. So of course, there was a great and diverse earlier period before me. But I think back then we did already test a lot with digital formats and of course online formats, but it didn't really stick that much as it did later. I think one of the upsides of Elektor is that it's actually been a community avant la lettre. Right, so it always was based on the notion of pro makers and electronic engineers that share a passion, and that I think around about 50 to 60% of all our content originated from the community, and it also did so back then. So back then, of course, it was sent in via mail, on paper, with prototypes along with it. But the basis of it didn't really change that much. So for us, it wasn't really that difficult to find our roots in the modern day and age of online. Actually, it made things a lot simpler and more interactive even. So the user-generated element of the online community, of course, is something that really fits our modus operandi, right? So I think even though, of course, it needs some technology to make it all happen and to make it possible, it didn't even require that much of a change of mindset for us. So I think that was a healthy basis for us to start with, and of course, we through some acquisitions and some strategic changes, we acquired the knowledge and the technology to be able to do this, and we've been profiting from that ever since. We're waiting on Flavio now, right?
Erik, you had a community, and you have a strong community, which is really cool. How does this work from the standpoint of marketing the brand? Because I mean, you've been evolving the brand, and now with the positioning you have, do you see in fact people responding to the change of the brand? And what has been that change? I mean, did they embrace that because you had them since a long time? They kind of trusted you and went on and saying, well, this is Elektor. There's no question. We sticking with them.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think we were able to stick with our DNA quite closely, right? So we changed, of course, the way we go about it, but it's still very close to what people are used to from Elektor, just served in a slightly different way. So as you know, our audience is curious by nature. Always looking for technical content and services to enhance their skills. And that hasn't really changed. So Elektor offers just that in any shape or form. So be it our print products, which we are still loved, and we still publish until today. So our magazines and our books, but also of course today we added webinars, personalized emails, of course the lab, which we already had all way back, now became an online lab where people jointly create new projects and add to that together with our lab staff. But also we added a community web store. So we have all the tools we need to have a very diverse scale of options. So yeah, I think the brand has remained quite recognizable for a lot of our members, which even today, of course, we have a large new influx of people, but we also still have a lot of people that really have been with us for a very, very long time. So I think that shows that with the evolving formats, I think we don't really where the community goes, we go, and in doing so, I think we create environment that people feel at home.
So obviously the pandemic came about at the beginning of last year, and we were all at Embedded World together in February last year when when the announcement was made. It was just after the first coronavirus cases had been found in Germany, and Embedded World's based in Nuremberg, also in Germany. Everyone was sort of in a panic there at the time. We together looked at some of the impact of that, and it was clear, I think, also for you guys that people were sort of less willing to to advertise. They were less willing to spend budget on things because they were a bit unsure about what the future was going to look like. So what were you doing to your advertising customers and sort of that community of the business in order to help them as the pandemic started?
Yeah, so as the pandemic started, we saw our KPIs drop. Plummet, I think is the word, right? So 25 to 30% in 1 month. So we really had to act. We didn't know where that was going. So we immediately went to see what we could do, and we were open about it. We actually also announced that online in all our communication what was happening, and we launched a project called Elektor Helps, which covered all 3 of our major activities. So our readership, our clients, as we call our advertising customers, as well as our suppliers, so let's say the store. And for our clients in particular, we were, the first thing we did was, of course, we also were told that budgets were frozen or were rejected completely. And of course, our new sales really didn't get off the ground anymore. So we said, we are not going to force anyone to do anything they don't want to do, which, as we heard back from our clients, wasn't something that happened everywhere. But yeah, we didn't see any use in forcing clients to do something where, that was just economically not viable. And instead, we offered, where we normally also have printed editions of our industry magazine. We now mainly went online, but we did that with an even higher frequency. So we did that especially in the first months when the pandemic was at its height. We did that on a monthly basis, and we offered communication space or even just regular advertising space for reduced rates or even for free for companies that really needed it. There was no use of letting this industry go to waste just because we were making a buck, right? So we thought, having existed for 60 years, we will overcome this. And for us, especially with the digital format, it wasn't that much more expensive than to create than we would do in any other moment. So we thought, this is a great opportunity to really help also our clients in times where we feel that at the moment that you kill your marketing, that is the end of it, right? So we offered still marketing opportunities even at reduced rates, or we've even done a lot for free. And we now actually see as the situation normalizes or at least becomes less dramatic, we see that also at that point we are making up for that. So I think it was a wise decision, and everybody appreciated it. It was sympathetic, but it was also effective for us.
Yes, and the interesting part here, it's fantastic to hear the fact that you've been able to step back, look at the situation, and not burn the bridges that you had with your clients. And I really applaud the fact that you looked at your business model in a way of saying, everybody is in the dump, so let's make the best out of it without having to go and trample on somebody else. This is a fantastic example on transparency and on building that loyalty, not with your reader only, but also with your clients from the standpoint of advertising. And that's a fantastic view. Have you used a specific methodology about how to get about to change the way and I would say to fine tune your marketing pitch to your clients? Or is this something that came, I would say, natively into the team?
Yeah, we just acted as things moved along, right? So it's not well, maybe it is, but I didn't know them, so it's not the best time for methodology. We just did what felt right. And I think it also fitted the times. You saw everywhere where companies, I don't know, Mercedes, the Formula One team was making respiratory devices. We just looked, what can we do? Maintaining our own business, of course, but we luckily we have multiple domains where we run our business on. And so we weren't able to we thought about having a nice contest where our community could actually participate and help creating projects that could help people that in need. But of course, there were already many of those going on. So we actually offered them a platform. So the Arduino community was doing something, Hackster.io was doing something, and we didn't want to compete with those. We just wanted to amplify them. And I think that without doing the Me Too thing in the positive way then, but I think it actually helps a lot. And we just went as it unfolded, and it turned out to be really good. So so the same thing, like I said, we did also for our readership, which was of course pretty difficult as well. People weren't able to go to the newsstand anymore, right? So a lot of our readers actually buy the magazine in the newsstand still, but we were also not able to send them. So many of the postal services just went black, right? So they did that internally, but not from abroad. So that was actually a double issue for us, or a double problem for us. So, and therefore we also offered free digital access to the magazine in the countries where it just we weren't able to do it anywhere else. And there too, we see now that, of course, in the beginning, people were just they were insecure about their jobs, about, whatever, how this would unfold. And we now see, even though it's a little bit different, but we now see that people are returning to us, and even people that we didn't know before, right? So these were, I think, newsstand buyers, or just every now and again bought something in our store. And they are now also coming back and renewing as a new added audience. But for us, it was twofold, right? So we were able then to supply these people also with the content that they love. And on the other hand, we maintained our readership, which was, of course, again, also important for our clients. If like 30% or 40% would drop off, then nobody benefits from that at all, right? So we were able to increase it, even though it was a difficult situation.
So a lot of B2B electronics businesses have over the years relied upon the press for maybe sort of two core things. One is sort of press relations in terms of running interviews, having interviews of their staff, of their CEOs to explain to the world what they're doing, also doing press releases on new products. On the other side has always been advertising, print advertising, to show what they have and build up their brand. How is it for business B2B organizations today who come to Elektor, now that you also have the store, you have the sort of like the hobby focused channel, and you have the business focused channel with Elektor Industry? What do you offer those organizations today in terms of marketing and advertising support?
Yeah, so I think the whole range, right? So, and I think actually that's the flexibility that we had, and we were talking before the session started a little bit about out of the box, which is your next episode, I believe. But actually, we did that too, right? So even in difficult times, we saw that people, maybe they didn't want to invest their cash into a new marketing proposition. but then, you know, we also have a store and we can make products back into cash, right? So we actually did that for ourselves. You know, we had a high stock level, and we thought, you know, let's at least try to get a certain percentage of that back into cash for, you know, if the business were to go down even further. And we offered our partners the same options. Now, and another thing that you just mentioned, like the hobby or amateur, like that's something that we are always very careful about, right? But in fact, what you see, and this is something also the pandemic for us made obvious, and I think also for our more even for our partners and our industry partners and our clients, is that, you know, where maybe in the past people had like a little tendency to look down on that. In fact, now, especially in comparison to other B2B publications, Elektor was still like, what Elektor has is, and we've seen that we do a lot of questionnaires, and you know, we get loads of response on that. And we see that most of our readership is actually also active in the industry, right? So, but they read it as a private person to develop their skills or their creativity. And so a very interesting thing that happened is that where a lot of B2B publications, all these closed circulation kind of situations, they were now landing on empty desks in empty offices, right? And they were chucked out by the cleaning lady. And our publications were actually being read still in the home, because we are behind the personal door of these people. And I think that made a huge impact. And I think actually also I think it changed a little bit the notion of what a lector is and what the value of a community like this is. You know, like people that are intrinsically enthusiastic about electronics, but you know, they can have a professional role as well. Actually, we see a lot of people saying that they have a lot of budget responsibility, and we hear it back also in live events. You know, it's not for nothing that we are at Embedded and at the Electronica, of course. Waiting on Flavio again.
It is remarkable, the fact that it has reinforced a community sense, and you've been able to find that silver lining into the pandemic from the standpoint of coming out stronger, even potentially than what you've been entering into. Erik, one thing that kind of triggers my curiosity is Elektor is not a huge company, right? So do you see the fact of not having been a big publication company an advantage to be able, you talked about agility. You know, the fact that you are all, I mean, I know a few of you, you've been into that business for quite some years, and many times people into a business tend to become comfortable into whatever has been done for the last 10, 15 years, and they don't see a reason to change. But what is the feeling behind everyone now at Elektor that you are coming out stronger? What do you see the positioning of your employees, of your team? Is there an element of becoming an ambassador for Elektor, and or being even more proud of working for the company?
Yeah, well, I think actually, to be honest, like I said, you know, we have been changing a lot since early this millennium. You know, we of course, like the whole publishing industry has changed enormously, right? And we have had to adapt and to change and to be very, very creative. For a long time, you know, we were doing content marketing before it was even a term, right? I'd never heard of it. And but we were doing contests with our partners and our clients, where they seeded hardware through our online lab, and people did something with that, like made project with that. So I think we are very much like change and adapting to new circumstances is very much in our DNA at Elektor. And I think, yeah, sure, a smaller company has a easier time doing so. At the same time, it's also something that that is really also, I think, a bit of a management style. We change, like change is really a constant, and of course that sounds really nice and all that, but it really is. I think if you talk to people in our company, as you guys have done, you will see that that we are constantly looking at ourselves and re-evaluating what we should be doing. Of course, the constant is the great content, right? So there's also elements that are constantly the same. But I think especially in marketing and in our product portfolio, we have at least all the instruments there that make us able to offer, I think, nearly any taste you would like. So I think that's let's be honest, right? A couple of these things were just lucky. I mean, we had this store, but we also had some growth pains in working with it. It became 1/3 of our turnover in 2 years' time. So, and we did all of that in our own warehouse, by some great people that really worked hard to ship all of a sudden thousands of orders from a small warehouse. So we already were working on outsourcing our logistics, which we did, and we actually finalized during the pandemic. But that made us so much more trustworthy, like I said, as the postal services, we had two, and we were proud of it back then. But this service provider that we have now, they have everyone in the world, right? So if the one cannot offer availability to a certain market, then the other can. And that has also, of course, helped a lot. So I think, yeah, even there, being able to offer your clients a mix of product, of traditional advertising, content marketing, I think it's something that that really helped us. I don't know, did I divert too much from the question?
No. I think that's really good. I think that's a really good insight. Now, I think when you look at sort of other businesses as well, where something creative or sort of magical has come out, it is really that ability to be agile, to take risks, take the skill and energy of internal employees and make it into something. It's one example is in the UK with the supermarkets. All the supermarkets started bringing out club cards and things like that to bind their customers to the superstores and also to encourage them to come back and shop more regularly. And one of those, I mean, they just started. Everybody was doing it all by hand. They didn't have any desks. They were just using some wooden boxes as desks and some borrowed computers and things to make that happen. And I think that's the real ability there. There's agility to try things out, offer new services, and also integrate those into what you're already doing is what really stands out. So we're coming towards the end of our time, and so I'd like to just pass over back to Flavio. Maybe you'd like to summarize some of the things we've heard today, because I think there's some really interesting silver in that lining as we've been talking.
Yes, indeed, Stuart. And I think that what I hear here, and this is a beautiful story, it's the fact that flexibility, ingenuity, creativity, but also the fact of being able to take the hit and saying, it's okay, we are going to keep the customers, we're not going to keep them accountable for the situation, and potentially even be a channel, a conduit for those companies to stay in business at a discounted price, even you said, even in some cases for free for advertising. It's absolutely commendable. So many companies have been looking into figuring out how to deal with COVID-19. And your story is a beautiful one. And I really thank you for the testimonial. And I think everybody at Elektor also, on behalf of the readers, and I think it's a beautiful feeling of knowing that into the situation of a pandemic, there are ways to go and tune, drive forward, change, adapt, and come out even better than at the beginning. Erik, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that people are going to be inspired with what has been happening at Elektor.
Who knows? You're most welcome, Flavio.
All right, I'll pass the last word to Stuart as we're coming on at the end of this program. Stuart, any last words of conclusion before, with my 8 seconds lag, that I can finish on the program on time?
Again, from my side, I'm just really, I'm personally as a reader of Elektor, somebody who grew up with it as a magazine, it's really lovely to see it still there. It brings back a lot of memories. I think there's a very tight emotional relationship to the organization, and I also work very closely with them today. And it's great to be part of an organization that actually puts the community first rather than the financial element first. And that's really shone out throughout the pandemic, and the work that I've seen going on in the background, as well as the work I've been doing with them. And but I think the critical thing is, and maybe the short-sightedness I've often seen in other organizations, especially very financially focused American organizations, you can't react in this way unless you've actually done a lot of the work that Erik has described in advance. You can't suddenly get to a pandemic and suddenly say, oh, by the way, we should have had a web shop, and we should have done an industry magazine, and we should have had all these other capabilities available. You can't make those overnight. So it's a great example of, I think, of how you run a business and an organization in a community focused way that's of benefit to everybody, and then you can ride those tough times as we've seen here today. When I just think it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, if I may add, I think...
Thank you, Stuart, for the wide words.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to add, we actually, I think one of the elements was that, just do good, right? So I think that's something that everybody wanted to do in these times. And I think that actually turned out, it fits, right? If you do good, it fits. And on the other hand, to be honest, we had a very, very good and profitable year. And that just by focusing on the things that mattered the most. So it wasn't just doing good. It was also actually very good for the company. And I think if you can combine these things, that's the perfect situation, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to Erik. As you can see, when you do good, when you take care of people, it comes positively back. And I hope that you out there who might be still impacted by COVID-19 have a way to look at the silver lining. What is it that you can do different? What is it that you can build on what you have done? This is the Creative Minds. This is the end of our episode today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and also to listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. And I hope that we will have you in 2 weeks for our next episode. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Be safe.